My students, I think all of you are well and healthy and enjoy your time with your parents, brothers and sisters in home during this corona crisis. Yesterday class I already discussed about the pathophysiology and clinical presentation of thalassemia. Now I will discuss very important topics, investigations of thalassemia, which is asked in Viva board. Also, it is very important for your written examination. So, investigations again divided into routine investigation, specific investigation, investigation for complication, and investigation for treatment. These are the heading, outline of the investigation. Now, routine investigation, complete blood count including RBC indices, peripheral blood vein study, reticulocyte count. Now, you have to know what do you mean by complete blood count. Complete blood count means we start from the hemoglobin percent. Also, it include the RBC count. It also include the TC, total count of WBC, DC, platelet. Also, it includes the RBC indices, that is MCV, mean corpuscular volume, MCH, mean concentrated hemoglobin, mean, and MCHC. Also, it includes the red cell distribution white. This is the RBC indices, and also it includes the ESR and PCB. So all these things including the complete blood count. But all investigation not needed, not important in all cases. But in thalassemia, the hemoglobin percent is very important, and RBC indices is very important. So why we should write down here the complete blood count including RBC indices? Because RBC indices is very important in thalassemia. And next investigation is peripheral blood vein count, and another one is reticulocyte count. These are the routine investigations. The investigation suggests you there is chronic hemolysis, but it is not diagnostic, it is suggestive. Now, complete blood count. This is hemoglobin percent. Of course, you know there is chronic hemolysis occurs in the thalassemia. So there is always reduced hemoglobin, and if you do the hemoglobin percentage, it is always reduced. Maybe moderate to severe, 3 to 9 milligram per dl. In RBC count, normal or increase. It may be normal, but increase due to medullary and extramedullary erythropoiesis, because there is anemia who is increased synthesis of erythropoietin. This erythropoietin is strong stimulator of the bone marrow to produce the RBC. When RBC capacity of the bone marrow is exhausted, it takes over by the spleen and liver, so there is hepatosplenomegaly. This RBC indices, the mean corpuscular volume is less than 75 femtoliter. It is called the microcyte. And MCH, if less than 270 picogram, MCHC reduced. So all these RBC indices reduced. Which more important is red cell distribution white, because this MCV, MCH, MCHC also reduced in iron deficiency anemia. So how can you differentiate from iron deficiency anemia from the thalassemia? This is very important. It is important, but it is differentiated by the RDW red cell distribution wide. This is normal. in case of thalassemia, but it increase in iron deficiency anemia. And another way is WBC platelet normal, but it may be decreased if there is hypersplenism. Now peripheral blood pressure, very important, which gives you idea whether it is hemolysis or not. RBC, macrocytic hypochromic, and there is marked anisopoikilocytosis, that is variation in shape and size of the RBC, and there is some abnormal cells. You know, adult RBC does not contain nucleus, but it numerous nucleated RBC present. It indicates normoblast, which is absent in the iron deficiency anemia. There is another cells, target cell, teardrop cells, pencil-shaped cells, fragmental cells, histiocytes. This target cell, teardrop cell, pencil cell is very important, which is very common in present in the thalassemia. So when you asked in Viva board, what are the findings of peripheral blood pre study, you should macrocytic hypochromic anemia, marked anisopoikilocytosis, nucleated RBC, target cell, teardrop cells, pencil-shaped cell, fragmental cell. When you asked how could you differentiate from the iron deficiency anemia, you say the nucleated RBC absent in the iron deficiency anemia. Now reticulocyte, very important. Normal reticulocyte 0 to 2%. When RBC production is raised, this reticulocyte raised, there is a strong stimulation of the immature RBC. This reticulocyte is also increased, this 5 to 10%. It is called a relative reticulocytopenia because RBC in number of RBC tremendously increased, but in relation to increased RBC, reticulocyte cannot raise up to the mark. So it is called a relative reticulocytopenia. Now specific inhibition, very important. Sometimes we asked in Viva board, what are the specific inhibition to diagnosis of the thalassemia? Your answer should be capillary hemoglobin electrophoresis. But before this, when you write down in the written the screening test, newborn screening, DNA mutation by the PCR test, and osmotic plasticity test, which is called by the NASTOP. NASTOP means naked eye, single tube, naked eye, N for naked, E for eye, S for single, T for tube, R for RBC, O means osmotic, F means plasticity, T means test. Naked eye, single tube, red cell, osmotic plasticity test. It is reduced. It is screening test. Now, how can you confirm the thalassemia? You do the capillary hemoglobin electrophoresis. If you say the only hemoglobin electrophoresis, it is incorrect. So you should the term is capillary hemoglobin electrophoresis. It is nowadays is very common investigation to confirm the thalassemia. And there is molecular study, PCR for mutations of the beta globin gene. Now capillary hemoglobin electrophoresis, very important. What is the findings of thalassemia major, thalassemia minor, thalassemia intermediate, thalassemia E beta thalassemia? You should ask in Viva board. In thalassemia major, fetal hemoglobin raised more than 98%. Normally, usually it is absent or less than 2%, but it is raised up to 98%. In hemoglobin A, while normally it should be present more than 98%, but in thalassemia major, it is reduced or absent or stress. Hemoglobin A2, it is raised. Normally it is less than 3.5%, but in thalassemia major it is more than 3.5%. So if you do the capillary hemoglobin electrophoresis, your finding is fetal hemoglobin more than 98%. Hemoglobin A means not, it is not mean the adult hemoglobin. Adult hemoglobin has two types, hemoglobin A, hemoglobin A2. Hemoglobin A reduced or absent, and hemoglobin A2 raised. Now very common thalassemia in our country is hemoglobin E beta thalassemia. hemoglobin E beta thalassemia. More common thalassemia in our country is the hemoglobin E beta thalassemia. If thalassemia major present with hemoglobin E disease, so the findings is fetal hemoglobin raised 40 to 60%, hemoglobin E present 40 to 60%, hemoglobin A reduced or absent, hemoglobin A2 raised more than 3.5%. If you look at the fixer scenario, you see that there is, this is all figure present in this case, but hemoglobin E is incorporated. So with these findings, if you add the hemoglobin E and this indicate hemoglobin E beta thalassemia. So very common, it is asked in a Viva board. Now I show you a comparative study. This is a hemoglobin A, hemoglobin F, hemoglobin A2, and thalassemia major. Is hemoglobin A reduced or absent? In thalassemia intermedia, also it reduced or absent. In minor, hemoglobin A 90 to 95%. Look at 90 to 95%. And normal, it is 97%. In fetal hemoglobin, in thalassemia major, it is raised more than 98%, and intermedia, it is 10 to 50%, 50%, and thalassemia minor or trait or carrier, it is 1 to 5%, normal less than 1%. In hemoglobin A2, in thalassemia major, it is raised more than 3.5%, intermedia it is 2%, in minor only it increased 3 to 5 to 7%, and in normal it is 1 to 3.5%. So in thalassemia trait or carrier, if you do the capillary electrophoresis, the finding is fetal hemoglobin 1 to 5%, and adult hemoglobin more or less normal 90 to 95%, but the hemoglobin A2 is more than 3.5%, and this is very important. And if you found this hemoglobin A2 more than 3.5%, it is indicates thalassemia minor or carrier or trait. Now, invasion or complication. Now, to see the skeletal changes, if you do the X-ray hand, it is the early radiological sign. Sometimes we ask in Viva board, what are the early radiological sign? Your answer is change in the bone of the hand. So do you do the X-ray hand? This is mosaic appearance, appearance, thinning of the cortex, widening of the marrow cavity, and coarsening of the trabeculae. This is the X-ray hand. X-ray of the hand is a mosaic appearance, coarsening of the trabeculae, thinning of the cortex, and give rise to coarsening of the trabeculae and expanded marrow spaces, and these give rise to mosaic appearance. Now, X-ray skull, widening of the diploic spaces, hair on end appearance due to vertical station on the trabeculae. This X is given in OSPI. This is the X-ray skull. This is the hair on appearance. This is diploid spaces. Inner table, scalp has the inner table, skull bone has the inner table and outer table, and in between this table there is erythroid tissue or bone marrow, and there is trabeculae. When erythroid hyperplasia occurs, bone marrow expansion occurs, this horizontal trabeculae becomes vertical and give rise to hair on end appearance. So if you do the X-ray of the scalp, you get a widening of the diploid spaces and hair on end appearance. To see the iron overload, serum iron and ferritin level raised, total iron binding capacity decrease, liver biopsy and MRI to determine the content of the liver, and cardiac MRI to detect the amount of iron in the heart. Sometimes you ask in Viva board, how can you differentiate iron deficiency anemia by doing the serum iron profile? In iron deficiency anemia, iron of course low, so ferritin also of course low, but it is raised in thalassemia. Total iron binding capacity is increased in iron deficiency anemia, but it is decreased in thalassemia. So very important, remember this. To see the endocardinopathy, the blood sugar, we should do this test for complication, not for always, sometimes 6 to 1 year interval, or if the disease manifested. You should do the blood sugar, because you know the iron is deposited in the beta cells of the pancreas and damage the islets of Langerhans and producing diabetes mellitus. In that case, you should do the blood sugar. And also there is some endocardinopathy occurs in the thalassemia, and in that case you should the thyroid stimulating hormone and growth hormone level and estrogen and testosterone level. It is not routinely done. It is done when the manifestation presents or 6 to 1 year interval to see the endocardinopathy. Liver function test, serum bilirubin, unconjugated bilirubin. Why unconjugated bilirubin? Because there is chronic hemolysis, and chronic hemolysis there is no problem in the conjugation of the bilirubin. So this unconjugated bilirubin is increased. But sometimes we ask question, conjugated bilirubin may be increased in what condition? If patient develop gallbladder stone or stone in the common bile duct, it gives rise to conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. And SGPT, SGUT, this is done to see the liver damage by the chronic iron overload and ultrasonic of the liver. Bone scanning, if you do the bone scanning, there is osteopenia due to the iron overload. And also you should do the inhibition for the treatment, blood grouping and cross-matching for blood transfusion. But in that case, we sometimes ask what investigation do during blood grouping and cross-matching. You should tell the answer like that. You should do the screening of hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, HIV, and VDRL and malaria. Now, outline of treatment. Outline of treatment, again, it is divided into counseling. Counseling means you tell the parents about the disease in short. This is nature and course of the disease and treatment of some complication and outcome of the disease. And supportive treatment, nutrition supplementation, regular blood transfusion, iron solution therapy, splenectomy. This is the supportive therapy. And specific therapy, bone marrow transplantation, gene therapy. And there is some pharmacotherapy. This is the hemoglobin F inducers. And other treatment include the treatment of complications, psychological support, and follow-up, prognosis and prevention. So, if you look at the picture, the treatment, alternate treatment include counseling, supportive, specific, hemoglobin F inducers, treatment of complications, psychological support, and treatment also include the follow-up, prognosis and prevention. Now, nutrient supplementation. There is iron overload, excess iron. So you should avoid iron containing diet, drugs. What are the iron containing diets? Meat, liver, beans, pulses, green leaf vegetables, banana, kosusha. And this diet should be restricted. And iron containing drugs should also be avoided. This is folic acid supplementation. Why folic acid supplementation? Because folic acid supplementation helps in maturation of the RBC. If you do not give the folic acid supplementation in thalassemic patient develop megaloblastic anemia and increase the rate of hemolysis. and also vitamin E and D supplementation and zinc supplementation. This should be also included in nutrition supplementation. Now regular blood transfusion, very important, regular blood transfusion or target to maintain the pre-transfusion hemoglobin level 9.5 to 10.5, 9.5 to 10.5. Now indication of hemoglobin level, when we transfuse the blood, when hemoglobin level less than 8 gram per dl, in that case we do the transfusion. Time interval, usually 3 to 4 weeks interval. And amount of blood transfusion, in guideline 15 to 20 ml per kg per day, but in textbook it is 10 to 15 ml per kg per day. So anyone you can say. So it should be packed RBC, not whole blood. Not whole blood, it should be packed RBC over 3 to 4 hours. So amount of blood per transfusion, 10 to 15 ml per packed RBC per kg over 3 to 4 hours, and in guideline it is between 20 ml per kg per day. Now amount of fat cell requirement, very important. That is, if a patient have hemoglobin level is 5, so according to our guideline we should raise the hemoglobin up to 10. So it is hemoglobin percentage 5 gram. In thalassemia patient we have to raise up to 10 gram per dl. So there is a formula. What is the formula? This formula, you should write down this. The desired level of hemoglobin. Desired level of hemoglobin means 10 gram. Desired level of hemoglobin, present hemoglobin level. If we do the investigation of the admitted patient or outdoor patient, if it is 5 gram, the desired hemoglobin level minus present hemoglobin level into OIT in kg. Say the OIT is 20 kg and into 4. So 5 into 20 into 4. So what happened? 400 ml blood, packed cell, packed RBC. 400 ml packed RBC required to transfuse, to raise the hemoglobin level up to 10. So 400 ml RBC, packed RBC should be transfused. So a question arises, 400 ml packed RBC can be transfused in single setting or multiple setting. In that case, you calculate the for transfusion amount of fat cell. You know, for transfusion 15 to 20 ml per kg. 15 to 20 ml per kg. So if patient weight is 20 kg, 20 into with this 15, 300 ml, or you consider the 20, in that case 400 ml. So in that case whole 400 ml blood can be given in single setting. If the patient's weight is say 10 kg, so in that case we should transfer 15 to 20 ml per kg. In that case, the per transfusion blood pool needed, if 20, we consider 200 ml. But total blood should require 400 ml. So how will you transfuse the blood? In that case, this volume is divided into two parts. First 200 ml, then second another 200 ml. But don't transfuse the blood 400 ml at a time. It is highlighted here. Amount of blood packed cell requirement. Desired hemoglobin level 10 gram. minus present hemoglobin 11 into 18 kg into 4. Now, choice of blood products. Fat, red cell, preferably liquid reduced RBC. This is asked in bio about liquid reduced RBC. That means in blood, leukocyte should be removed. Preferable. Washed RBC, genotype matched washed red cell, frozen or preserved RBC, neocyte or young RBC. So, choice of blood products, you tell the answer as like as liquid reduced RBC, washed RBC, genotype matched washed red cell, frozen or preserved RBC, and neocyte or young RBC. Now, rule of blood transfusion in thalassemia. This is asked in bio board. So, why should you give the blood in thalassemia patients? It is very important. You know, in thalassemia patients there is growth failure. If you transfuse the blood regularly, it promotes the growth and development. So it minimizes the growth and development, and also minimizing the extramedullary erythropoiesis, reduce hypersplenism, minimize the facial and skeletal changes, and decreasing or delaying the onset of complication, this cardiac complication, means cardiac iron overload, heart failure, reduce iron absorption from the gut. You know, in thalassemia, the iron increase in the blood, and it also increase the iron absorption from the gut. Iron, very important is the iron solution therapy. Indication, you should not use less than 2 years. Best age for iron solution more than 5 years. And indication asked in bio board, after 10 to 20 times blood transfusion, or ferritin level more than 1000 microgram per liter or 1000 nanogram per ml, or liver iron content more than 5000 microgram per gram dry weight, and guideline it is written as more than 57 milligram per gram dry weight of liver. Recently in 21st mention it is written more than 5000 microgram per dry weight, but in a previous edition it is more than 2500 microgram. So if any one present, you should give the iron solution therapy. What are the causes of iron overload? Can you remember? Iron overload occurs due to chronic hemolysis and increased gut absorption of the iron, and also the ongoing blood transfusion. The three causes of iron overload in thalassemia. Number one, there is chronic hemolysis. Number two, there is increased iron absorption from the gut. Number three is ongoing blood transfusion, which is asked in the bio board. Now, iron chelator. Iron chelator, there is parental iron chelator and oral iron chelator. In parental iron chelator, there is desperioxamine, Desperol, and another one is oral, diperiprone, and D-paracerox. In our market, it is marketed as Calpar, name of Calpar tablet capsule, and D-paracerox, it is a tablet Ansura. Now, how can you do the iron solution therapy? There is combination iron solution therapy is safe and effective. Parental desperioxamine plus oral solution therapy. Desperioxamine given in the subcutaneous, usually at the time of blood transfusion, and plus oral diperiprone in between the transfusion. Why oral diperiprone? Because it removes the iron from the heart, other oral chelator more effectively. So, diperiprone is used in combination with DFO. Now, dose in this desperioxamine 40 to 50 milligram per kg per day, subcutaneous infusion over 8 to 10 hours, 5 to 6 days per week alone, or combination with oral chelator. Remember, this given subcutaneous, but maybe given IV, but it is very much effective when given in subcutaneous. Diperipan 75 mg per kg per day orally in 2 to 3 divided doses, easily indicated after 6 years of age. Now, of course, you should give the vitamin C 250 mg to be taken orally at the start of infusion. But vitamin C, no, vitamin C, it increase the iron absorption. So you should not prescribe vitamin C in thalassemia patients, but you may prescribe vitamin C during iron solution therapy, because this vitamin C, it increase the iron excretion through the urine when you give along with the desperioxamine, and also it release the tissue iron. So vitamin C is important during iron solution therapy, but never you should not give in regular basis. Now this is the fixer of the iron solution therapy. Now splenectomy, very important. Splenectomy, indication of splenectomy in thalassemia. It asks in Bhayabur, when transfusion requirement more than 200 ml packed RBC per kg per year, or if transfusion quotient is more than 1.5, this is asked in Bhayabur by the some examiner, but it is not done in nowadays. But in Bhayabur, some examiner asks you question, so you should remember, if transfusion quotient is more than 1.5, this transfusion quotient means patient's observed blood transfusion divided by expected blood transfusion. And hypersplenism and massive splenomegaly with pressure symptoms. So indication is when transfusion requirement more than 200 ml packed RBC per kg per year, or if transfusion quotient is more than 1.5. Number 3 is hypersplenism. Number 4, massive splenomegaly with pressure symptoms. If any one present, your choice is option is splenectomy. Now, sometimes we ask the question in Bhayabur, what are the other causes of splenectomy? There is splenectomy cause. There is medical indication. Medical indication is congenital spherocytosis, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, chronic ITP, acute ITP in life-threatening condition, hypersplenism due to any cause such as thalassemia, chronic malaria, Kala-Azar. So, as a whole, if you ask what are the causes, what are the indications of splenectomy, your answer is medical causes. Medical cause condition. What are the medical condition? Congenital spherocytosis, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, chronic ITP, acute ITP in life-threatening condition, hypersplenism due to any causes such as thalassemia, chronic malaria, Kala-Azar. And another indication is surgical, that is splenic cyst, tumor, rupture, abscess, trauma. So in surgical condition, what are the causes? These are the splenic cyst, tumor, rupture, abscess, and trauma. Now, sometimes we asked the precaution. What precaution you should take during splenectomy? Very important. Usually, it is done if the age of the thalassemia patients more than 5 years, because if you splenectomy done before 5 years, their immune system is immature, patient is prone to develop septicemia. And what other precautions? You should immunize the patient against meningococci, S. influenzae, and pneumococci, because these are the encapsulated organism, and it is protected by the intestine. So the encapsulated organism are destroyed by the spleen. When spleen is spleen is operated, patient is unprotected of this organism and give rise to infection. Post-splenectomy care. What are the post-splenectomy care? Sometimes we ask in Viva board, what are the measures you should take after splenectomy? Number one answer is the lifelong oral penicillin. Lifelong oral penicillin and prompt treatment of infection if present. Sometimes is asked, what are the complications arises after splenectomy? Your answer should, this is perioperative complications such as bleeding, atelectasis and subphrenic abscess. And very important is the post-operative complications. That is sepsis and thrombophilia. That is increased platelet count. Very important. After splenectomy, within few hours, if you do the platelet count may be increase up to 10 lakh to 20 lakh. Can you imagine? And which may give rise to thrombosis. So if you get the thrombophilia, in that case you treated urgently. And another complication is pulmonary hypertension, iron overload, venous thrombosis, pulmonary hypertension, leg ulcer and silent cerebral infarction. So most important in thrombophilia. Thrombophilia immediately it develops after few hours of splenectomy. Now specific treatment. In specific treatment is stem cell transplantation. Very important. Stem cell transplantation. Newer therapy is gene therapy. Now, what is the stem cell transplantation? And donor should be ACLA identical sibling, and there may bone marrow derived stem cell, there may umbilical cord blood stem cell and peripheral blood stem cell. Now it is practiced now in our country and the prognosis is very good. So when you tell the stem cell transplantation, your answer is bone marrow derived stem cell, umbilical cord blood stem cell and peripheral blood stem cell. Now hemoglobin F augmentation. Hydroxyurea, Myleran, butyrate derivatives, erythropoietin thalassemia intermedia. These drugs induce the gamma chain synthesis and to raise the fetal hemoglobin. Gamma chain, you know, 2 beta, 2 gamma, it is called the fetal hemoglobin. So to raise the fetal hemoglobin, hydroxyurea, Myleran, butyrate derivatives, erythropoietin thalassemia intermedia sometimes given. Risks, what is the risk of hydroxyurea? There may be cytopenia. Now treatment of complications, the heart failure may be from anemic heart failure, may be due to overtransfusion, may be due to cardiac iron overload, and of liver cirrhosis, endocrinopathy, infection, paraplegia. And why this occurs, I already explained. Of course, psychological support, because thalassemia imposes major disruption in the family, so psychological support of the family should need it. Now follow-up. Follow-up is growth monitoring, estimation of blood transfusion rate, complication, and sometimes lab inhibition should be done to see the complication in complete blood count, iron profile, blood glucose level, liver function test, renal function test, cardiac function, endocrine function. It should not do the routinely. Some inhibition monthly, some inhibition 3 monthly, some inhibition yearly. And this complete blood count, iron profile, complete blood count is done in monthly basis, and iron profile and blood glucose level, liver function, renal function usually 3 month to 6 month interval, and cardiac function, endocrine function usually 6 to 1 year interval. Now prevention, very important, is asked in a Viva board. How can you prevent that? Is a public awareness, population screening, career detection, counseling, career patients and parents of affected child, preventing marriage between trades, avoid causing marriage, antenatal diagnosis, genetic counseling. Very important. Now the public awareness by the television, by the seminar symposium, and popular screening, career detection, counseling of the career parents and parents of affected child, preventing marriage between trades, avoid causing marriage, antenatal diagnosis and genetic counseling. Now very important is the screening method. What is screening method? Screening done by through the complete blood count. It is, if you do a complete blood count and see the RBC indices, if MCB is less than 80 femtoliter or MCA is less than 26 picogram, it indicates patient may be thalassemia or iron deficiency anemia. Iron deficiency anemia. Then upward, if you find this, the MCB is less than 80 femtoliter or MCHC less than 27 milliliter, you diagnose maybe thalassemia, carrier or iron deficiency anemia. In that case, you offer hemoglobin electrophoresis to test the confirm. And if electrophoresis report is normal, then they should be treated with iron for 2 weeks to see the response. So very important. So use in this very common and low cost investigation complete blood count to see the RBC indices. And carrier detection, very important. Carrier, how can you detect the carrier? And if person is asymptomatic carrier, that is beta thalassemia trait, hemoglobin E trait, homozygous hemoglobin E. Test is osmotic platelet test, that is NASPROC. If you done, the osmotic platelet says of RBC is reduced. And another way, it is very simple test, low cost. And another way is hemoglobin electrophoresis. If the report is hemoglobin A2 is more than 3.5%, you suspect person is the thalassemia carrier. And another test is DNA analysis, which is molecular investigation. Now, antenatal diagnosis of fetal antenatal. How can you antenatal diagnosis? By the analysis of the fetal DNA, by the chorionic villus sampling in 10 to 12 weeks, and amniocentesis 15 to 18 weeks. This is done in the antenatal period to detect the carrier. Now, very important, we asked in the Viva board, how can you counsel the patients, counsel the thalassemia patients? You should tell the mother, it is not fault of the mother. It is the genetic disease. Mother and father, both of them carry the defective gene. Very important is genetic counseling. It is not fault of the mother, it is genetic disease. Sometimes parents themselves feels guilty. So you counsel the parents, it is not the fault of the mother, it is genetic disease. Mother and father, both of them carry the defective gene. Usually affected child does not survive in spite of the proper blood transfusion beyond third decade. There is 25% chance of affected child irrespective to sex in future pregnancy. I will discuss it later. So, if family is complete, should not take any offspring. But if parents want to take child, they should do antenatal diagnosis by the amniocentesis or chorionic villus sampling. And if fetus is affected, pregnancy should be terminated. And otherwise, pregnancy may be continued. Before going to hemoglobinopathies, look at the picture. You know, thalassemia is the autosomal recessive. That means mother or father should be carrier, and this is usually expressed in homozygous state. That means both genes should be defective. Both genes should be defective. It is both gene defective gene. So this is usually expressed. Both genes defective, so it is called the homozygous. One gene defective, one gene normal, it is called a heterozygous. It is called a carrier. So if mother is carrier, father also carrier, what happened to their offspring? So it is affected baby. It is affected baby. Why affected baby? Because both genes are defective. It is carrier baby because one gene is defective, one gene is normal. So it is carrier. It is also carrier, and both genes are normal, so it is normal. So in future pregnancy, there is 25% chance of 25% chance of affected baby, and 50% chance of carrier, and 20% of normal. So you should counsel the parents. Now I will tell about the hemoglobinopathy. The structurally abnormal globin synthesis, the hemoglobin E disease, hemoglobin S disease, hemoglobin C disease. There is qualitative defect in globin chain production. That is one amino acid is beta globin chain is replaced by the another amino acid. Types of hemoglobinopathy. Hemoglobin E disease, the 2 alpha 2 beta in beta chain 26 position, glutamic acid is replaced by the lysine. In hemoglobin C disease, 2 alpha 2 beta in beta chain in 6 position, glutamic acid replaced by the lysine. In hemoglobin S disease, which is called as sickle cell disease, 2 alpha 2 beta in beta chain 6 position, glutamic acid replaced by the valine. So if you draw a picture, what happened? In hemoglobin E disease, this is beta chain in 26 position. Normally presence of glutamic acid, but if it is replaced by the lysine, it gives rise to hemoglobin E disease. In 6th position, glutamic acid, if replaced by the lysine, give rise to hemoglobin C disease. If 6th position, glutamic acid is replaced by the valine, which give rise to hemoglobin S disease or sickle cell disease. Sometimes it is asked in a viva board. Now, hemoglobinopathies and thalassemia. This is qualitative defect. Qualitative defect, or it is thalassemia is quantitative defect. It is structural abnormal globin synthesis. Globin chain structurally abnormal, but in thalassemia, deficient globin chain synthesis, globin chain structurally normal. So, hemoglobin structure normal. In hemoglobinopathy, one amino acid in beta chain is replaced by another amino acid, but in thalassemia, the reduction of globin chain either alpha or beta. In hemoglobinopathies, the example is hemoglobin E disease, S disease, and C disease. And in thalassemia, alpha thalassemia, beta thalassemia. Now, thalassemia trait or thalassemia minor, usually asymptomatic. Mild pallor or no jaundice, no growth retardation, no skeletal abnormalities, no splenomegaly. May present as iron deficiency anemia. And how can you differentiate it from iron deficiency anemia? If give the iron therapy, it is refractory to iron therapy and normal life expectancy. Now, what is the duty of thalassemia? I discuss it later on, but how can you differentiate it from the iron deficiency anemia. A short course of iron and rehabilitation after treatment. So in thalassemia patient, in thalassemia trait, it may be confused with iron deficiency anemia. So you should diagnose either thalassemia trait or patient suffering from iron deficiency. So in that case, you should prescribe patient a short course of iron and re-evaluation after treatment. If beta thalassemia trait persistently normal, red cell distribution wide, but in iron deficiency anemia it is increased, low mean corpuscle volume, but after iron therapy, in case of iron deficiency anemia, this mean corpuscle volume MCV increase or becomes normal. On hemoglobin analysis, hemoglobin A2 raised in case of thalassemia trait and variable increase in fetal hemoglobin, but in case of iron deficiency anemia it is normal. In iron deficiency anemia, elevated red cell distribution wide, very important, very important. Now thalassemia intermedia, severity may range from minor to major, usually transfusion independent, present with mild to moderate pallor after 4 to 6 years of life. Splenomegaly usually evident after 2 years of age. Some patient present with complication of iron overload. Some patient may present with features of extramedullary hematopoiesis, that is hepatosplenomegaly, facial signs. Growth retardation, bone deformity, hepatomegaly only seen in more severe cases, and long survive than thalassemia major. Now SAQ, very important, which is asked in written question. If present with failure and hepatosplenomegaly, if patient present with failure and splenomegaly, hepatomegaly. So 3 things present: pallor, splenomegaly, hepatomegaly. What do you think? What do you think? You think it may be congenital hemolytic anemia. Congenital hemolytic anemia, more common, thalassemia. More common is thalassemia. Number 2 is congenital spherocytosis. Congenital spherocytosis. Congenital spherocytosis, and number 3 is hemoglobin E disease. Hemoglobin E disease, and number 4 is sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia. So, if you ask the Viva board or SAQ, if a patient present with pallor, hepatosplenomegaly, what is the common DD? What is the common? If answer is single, if answer is congenital hemolytic anemia, most probably it is thalassemia. But when you ask for DD, your first DD should be thalassemia, second DD which is congenital spherocytosis, third DD hemoglobin E disease, fourth DD in sickle cell anemia, and fifth one is due to Kala-Azar malaria. Kala-Azar malaria. Now, if patient is pallor with hepatosplenomegaly with jaundice, look at the problem. Pallor and hepatosplenomegaly constant. Hepatosplenomegaly constant plus jaundice. So, what is your diagnosis? If single diagnosis, it is congenital hemolytic anemia, most probably thalassemia. And if you ask the DD, you deduce the other causes of congenital hemolytic anemia, such as hereditary spherocytosis, hemoglobin E disease, sickle cell anemia. And another DD is Kala-Azar. Another DD is chronic liver disease. And last one is malaria, because malaria is very uncommon, and pallor, hepatitis splenomegaly, jaundice is very uncommon. But Kala-Azar, there will be pallor, there will be hepatitis splenomegaly, in late stage there will be jaundice. So you should mark jaundice. Next, if present is pallor, pallor constant plus hepatitis splenomegaly constant plus ascites. Sometimes question asks in bedside, in thalassemia patient develop hepatitis splenomegaly and plus ascites. What is the impression? You tell the answer. The patient may suffering from chronic liver disease. Why chronic liver disease? Because due to iron overload. So patient develops ascites. So if present pallor, hepatitis splenomegaly, ascites, what is your DD? First one, DD is the chronic liver disease with portal hypertension. Second DD, ascites. You mark the ascites. Second DD is if the patient is girl and teenage, you suspect patient develop you suspect patient suffering from systemic lupus erythematosus. Second, you suspect disseminated TB. And another one is lymphoma. In that case, thalassemia is the last option. Because ascites is rare in case of thalassemia. So if a patient present with pallor, hepatitis splenomegaly, ascites, your first DD should be chronic liver disease with portal hypertension. If the patient is girl and teenagers, you suspect also systemic erythematosus and disseminated TB, which is very common in our country. And last one, you suspect thalassemia because ascites is less common in thalassemia. Now, congenital spherocytosis. Tell about something. Congenital, it is autosomal dominant. Early onset, neonatal period or adolescent, but in thalassemia it is usually present after 6 months of age, and in thalassemia it is autosomal recessive. Pallor, jaundice, growth failure less marked, but in thalassemic patient it is oil marked. Splenomegaly invariably present. Raise osmotic permeability test, but in case of thalassemia osmotic permeability test is reduced. Spherocytes on peripheral blood film, it is spherocyte absent in the thalassemia. Raise MCHC, but in case of thalassemia it is reduced. And normal electrophoresis. So by this way we can differentiate congenital spherocytosis from the thalassemia. Now Kala-Azar. There is history of endemic zone of Kala-Azar to Mymensingh, such as Mymensingh. There will be history of prolonged fever, usually is absent in the thalassemia. There is good appetite in spite of fever and weight loss, but in thalassemia there is anorexia. Emaciated pace, but in case of thalassemia, not emaciated, it gives rise to hemolytic pace. There is moderate pallor, pigmentation, alopecia. Moderate pallor may be present in thalassemia, but pigmentation, alopecia are usually absent in the thalassemia. Splenomegaly more than hepatomegaly, but in case of thalassemia, there will be splenomegaly, hepatomegaly, both are moderate to gross enlargement. In malaria, there is endemic zone, that is hill tracts. There is high rise of temperature with seal and rigor, may present or not, may be normal temperature sometimes. Mild to moderate pallor, splenomegaly moderate to massive, non-tender. So by this way we can differentiate thalassemia from the malaria. Now OSPE. Look at the picture. Look at the picture. Describe the facial dysmorphism. What is your probable diagnosis? How will you confirm the diagnosis with expected findings? Outline the treatment of this condition. So describe the facial dysmorphism. Your answer is it is the hemolytic face. That is frontal bushing, parietal bushing, malar prominence, and depressed nasal bridge, mallevolution of teeth, upward protruded upper lip. This constitute the hemolytic faces. What is probable diagnosis? Your answer is probable diagnosis congenital hemolytic anemia, most probably thalassemia. How will you confirm the diagnosis with expected findings? Your answer is the capillary electrophoresis with findings, with laboratory findings. You should write down this. Already I will discuss. Outline the treatment of condition. And second hospital, describe the X-ray. So describe X-ray with the wording of the diagnosed faces and hair on appearance. What is the probable diagnosis? Probable diagnosis is the congenital hemolytic anemia, possibly thalassemia. How will you confirm the diagnosis expected findings? That is capillary hemolytic electrophoresis with findings. Outline treatment of this condition. Now, hemoglobin electrophoresis graph. Hemoglobin electrophoresis shows the following result. Describe the findings. Right? To describe the hemoglobin A 4.3, that is reduced, greatly reduced. Fetal hemoglobin F 93.4, it is greatly increased. And hemoglobin A2 2.3, more or less normal. So this finding indicates patient suffering from thalassemia major. Thalassemia major. Beta thalassemia major. And this hemoglobin graph shows hemoglobin A 47.9, hemoglobin F 46.3, hemoglobin A2 5.8. So describe the findings. Hemoglobin A is reduced, fetal hemoglobin is raised, and hemoglobin A2 is also raised. So what is your diagnosis? Diagnosis is beta thalassemia intermedia. Beta thalassemia intermedia. This electrograph, this capillary hemoglobin electrophoresis graph shows the hemoglobin A 95.8, which is more or less normal, but A2 is more than 4.2. If hemoglobin A2 is more than 3.5, it indicates carrier. So it is the beta thalassemia trait or beta thalassemia carrier. This is another hemoglobin electrophoresis graphs. Hemoglobin A 6.3, F 37.2, hemoglobin E 50.0, hemoglobin A2 6.5. This hemoglobin A is greatly reduced. Fetal hemoglobin raised, but here is presence of hemoglobin E, and A2 also raised. So in presence of hemoglobin E, your answer is hemoglobin E beta thalassemia. Hemoglobin E beta thalassemia, it is more common findings in our country. More common findings in our country. Look at the picture. What is your findings? You tell or write down in this way the adrenal distension, possibly due to gross hepatosplenomegaly. There is may also hepatosplenomegaly. What are the DD of your findings? DD of thalassemia. Number 1 thalassemia, number 2 kala-jor, number 3 leukemia, number 3 lymphoma. Now look at the picture. They are sheaves of same family. What are your findings? Your findings, number 1 findings is that there is hemolytic phase of all sheaves. There is growth failure. There is abdominal distensions, possibly due to hepatosplenomegaly. And all sheaves are affected. So my probable diagnosis is congenital hemolytic anemia, possibly thalassemia. So thanks, my dear students. I discussed elaborately thalassemia because it is very important for your examination. Thank you.